Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to my SampleSeek tutorial. If you're watching this, you're probably in the public beta, so welcome. If you've used this app before, you probably know how it goes down, so you can skip this video. But if you haven't used it before, it's a must watch because it kind of shows you the ins and outs of how to use this and get the best results out of it. So welcome to SampleSeek. This is the home screen. This is your dashboard, your personal dashboard. It gives you all your latest seekers and the latest community or the public seekers. Now, a seeker, all it is a fancy word for a search for a sample. So you can set up your own seeker with your own custom options and kind of find your samples your own way. And I'm going to show you how to do that now. So first things first, on the left here, we have a nav bar and there's a create button here. So if you hit the create button, you'll get presented with this screen. Now this screen lets you choose from two modes. Easy mode or expert mode. Now easy mode kind of listens to your sample and works out the best options for you if you're not quite sure what to do. For the sake of this tutorial, we'll use expert mode, obviously. So with expert mode, you get a lot more options. You get to choose your pitch mode, you get to choose your shift settings, which we'll go through in a second. First things first, let's choose a file. For this example, I've chosen Do Your Thing by Basement Jaxx because it's an absolute tune. So we'll select that file, we'll click next. Now we get taken to what I call the studio. Now, all this is, it's a playground for messing with your sound before you send it off for recognition. So by default, the maximum amount of audio that SampleSeek can handle is 12 seconds. And that's because song recognition services don't really pay attention to any audio over 12 seconds. They just cap it at 12 and that's it. So we'll trim to 12 seconds here. I'm going to choose, I think that's about right. We'll just choose this. Hit trim to loop. Now what that's done is it's taken our full audio file and trimmed it to 12 seconds. So let's have a listen. All right, so why don't we try finding the piano in this sample? Because it kind of sounds old. It's a loop. It's the same thing over and over again. And it kind of sounds like it might come from an old jazz record. So what we can do now is edit our sample to get it into a nice format for SampleSeek to use. Now I've noticed two things. The first thing is it's a perfect loop. So if you hear a perfect loop in the song, it's best to submit a perfect loop to SampleSeek. You'll get better results. And the second thing is this particular song has singing over the top of the sample that I want to find. Now SampleSeek comes with a stem separator, an AI stem separator that we can use to try and get rid of those vocals. So if you click these triple dots here, and go to Send to Stems, we're now taken to the stem section of SampleSeek and we get two options. The quality, which I'm going to set to high, and the model. Hybrid is a newer model and classic is for older songs. I'm going to use hybrid for now. And let's hit extract. So now we'll wait for that to extract the stems. Cool. That's worked quite nicely. So we've got our bass, our drums, our vocals, and anything else all separately on different tracks. Let's have a listen. So you can hear it separated things like the drums. But what we're after is the piano, which usually falls into the other section. So if we solo other and have a listen to that. Sounds pretty good to me. So we can now send that back to the studio by pressing this green arrow here called Send to Studio. And that takes that stem and puts it back in the studio. So let's have a listen. Cool. So now we've got the piano on its own. I mentioned before that it's a perfect loop. If the sample's a perfect loop in the original track, we should make it a perfect loop for SampleSeek to try and get the best results. So let's crop the audio to try and get a perfect loop. Think about here. That's pretty good. That'll do. So let's hit crop loop. And that now means that our loop is a perfect loop inside SampleSeek. And we can hit the save button. Now I noticed that after separating the stems, some of the top end went missing. If we have a listen. It's just removed a little bit of the top end. So we can add that back with the EQ here by using treble. That's a bit better. And maybe some bass, because some bass went missing as well. Let's have a go at adding some more bass back in. Sounds good. I'm going to hit save again. Important thing to remember, these EQ sliders are tailored to song recognition services. So these services listen to particular EQ bands. If you boost a particular band, you're hinting towards that service that this is the band you want it to try and recognize more than the others. You can give it a priority. So now we've got a perfect loop. Let's hit send to Seeker. And now we're back in our Seeker setup. So we have 3 modes to choose from: repitch, complex, and time stretch. Repitch changes both the pitch and tempo of the sample. So this is like slowing up or speeding down a record on a vinyl player. Complex is a bit different. It's like complex in Ableton, if you're familiar with that. It changes the pitch of a sample, but maintains a constant tempo. So you're just changing the tonalities and leaving the speed alone. And time stretch is an old technique where you stretch out the sample, but maintain the pitch. So it becomes longer, but doesn't change pitch. We're going to choose repitch because I think this jazz piano sample is from an old record. So repitch is the best option to choose here. Now we get to shift settings. What this means is how many times over how many semitones are we going to adjust the sample for pitch and speed changes. So I'm going to set mine to 0.25 and I'm going to set the slider just to about 4 semitones either way. So this means for every 0.25 semitones, we're going to speed up or slow down the song across 8 semitones in total. And that's going to take about 5 minutes. So we'll hit next. This is the plugin section. By default, 3 plugins are enabled: Normalize, Auto Loop, and HQ Mode. Normalize makes sure that your sample is a maximum of -2 dB. This means that song recognition services don't have to deal with distortion. Auto Loop is what I spoke about before. If it's a perfect loop but it's not quite 12 seconds, it'll loop it over and over again until it reaches 12 seconds. HQ Mode's always on by default. It just means use the highest quality processing possible. Why not? Now we'll hit next. And the very last stage is to give your Seeker some details. So this is the original artist and track name of the song you're after. So mine is Basement Jaxx. And the track is Do Your Thing. And we can choose those and we get the album art. And if you want to, you can publish this Seeker, which means everyone else can see it. So I'll leave that checked for now. And now we can hit Start Seeker to try and find the sample. So we can see it's going to run through all of these semitones, one by one, slowly getting slower and slower in speed. You can see here it's found the original, Do Your Thing, so we can have a listen to that. And if we listen a bit lower, we'll hear a slower version of it. For example, this one, -1 semitones. And if you look at the next result, it looks like we've got a track from 1991 by Kenny Barron. Let's have a listen to that. What we can do is, because SampleSeek is hooked up to YouTube, it actually finds the YouTube video and the exact point in time the sample was found at. So we can click this little YouTube icon here and have a listen. Sounds like it to me. We can hear what SampleSeek was sent off. So it pretty much got it bang on. So now that we've found the sample, we can hit cancel because we don't need to find any other results. And we can go on the left here to our library and we can see that Do Your Thing by Basement Jaxx has appeared. And all of our results are here. So we know that Do Your Thing was the original track. So we can actually come over here and mark this as the original. And then we can come to the sample that we found and mark that as the sample. And now we know anything with a green dot was the original and anything with a blue dot was the sample. And again, you can listen to the YouTube video. And now that we found the sample, if we go back to the dashboard, we can see that Basement Jaxx, Do Your Thing, samples Funky Mama by Kenny Barron. And it's as simple as that. Some things to be aware of. You may notice that you do get quite a lot of results. Obviously, not all of them are going to be the sample. It's just the behavior of recognition services. They don't get it right all the time. But the fun part is going through the results and figuring out, okay, is one of these the actual sample or is it not? And then you get to mark it as one. And that's pretty much all there is to it. You pretty much take a sample, extract the bit you want, give it to SampleSeek, send it off, and check the results. And you might get lucky and find the sample. Who knows? But that's what makes it fun. So, I hope you've enjoyed this mini tutorial and have fun using SampleSeek, and I can't wait to see what you guys find. Thank you for watching.